If your plants keep dying and you don't know why, it's probably not bad luck. It's one of these 10 mistakes, and I promise you're doing at least 3 of them right now. Mistake number 7 kills more houseplants than anything else on this list, and almost nobody talks about it. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly why your plants keep struggling, and exactly how to fix it. Let's go. Hey! Welcome back to the Garden Sage. If you've ever bought a beautiful plant, followed the care tag exactly, watered it the right amount, and watched it die anyway, this video is for you. Gardening isn't actually hard, but there are a handful of sneaky habits that quietly stress your plants out until they collapse, and most guides never mention them. I'm going to walk through the 10 biggest ones, why each one happens, and exactly how to fix it. And quick thing, if you're into plant care that actually works instead of generic advice, hit subscribe, because that's exactly what the Garden Sage is all about. Stick around till the end, because number 10 is the one I wish someone had told me years ago. Let's get into it. Overwatering is the single biggest killer of houseplants, and most people don't even realize they're doing it. Here's what happens. When soil stays constantly wet, oxygen gets pushed out of the tiny air pockets between soil particles. Roots need that oxygen just as much as they need water. Without it, roots literally suffocate, and once that happens, rot sets in fast. The tricky part is that the symptoms of overwatering, yellow, droopy leaves, look almost identical to underwatering. So people see a sad, wilting plant and assume it needs more water, when it actually needs less. That's how plants get watered straight into the ground. The fix is simple but requires patience. Stop watering on a fixed schedule like every Sunday. Instead, check the soil itself. Stick your finger about 2 inches down. If it's still damp, wait a few more days and check again. If it's dry, water thoroughly until it drains out the bottom. Then let it dry out again before the next watering. Different plants, pots, and seasons all change how fast soil dries, so the calendar lies, the soil doesn't. A gorgeous pot with no drainage hole might look great on a shelf, but for your plant, it's basically a bathtub with no drain. Water pools at the bottom, roots sit in it, and even a perfect watering routine turns into slow-motion root rot, because there's simply nowhere for excess water to go. This is one of the sneakiest mistakes because it has nothing to do with how you water. The pot itself is working against you. Pot size matters just as much. A tiny seedling in a huge pot sounds generous, but that extra soil holds far more moisture than the small root system can use. The roots stay wet for days longer than they should, and rot follows. The fix: always choose pots with drainage holes, or drill some yourself if it's decorative. If you love a pot without holes, use it as a decorative outer cover and keep the plant in its original nursery pot inside. And size up gradually, usually just 1 or 2 inches larger in diameter, rather than jumping to something dramatically bigger than the plant needs right now. Light is fuel. Without the right amount, plants can survive for a while, but they won't thrive, and eventually they'll show it. A sun-loving plant tucked into a dim corner will start stretching toward the nearest light source, growing long, thin, weak stems with big gaps between leaves. That's called legginess. And it's the plant desperately reaching for something that isn't there. On the flip side, a shade-loving plant placed in direct, blasting afternoon sun can develop scorched, crispy brown patches on its leaves, essentially sunburn. The fix starts with actually knowing your plant's light needs, which usually falls into a few categories: low light, indirect bright light, or direct sun. A quick search of your plant species name plus light requirements gives you a clear answer in seconds. From there, match the plant to the right spot in your home: a north-facing window for low light lovers, an east or west-facing window for bright indirect light. If your space just doesn't have the right natural light, an inexpensive grow light can fully solve the problem and keeps your plant healthy year-round. Not all soil is created equal, and using the wrong type is one of the most overlooked mistakes in gardening. Succulents and cacti evolved in fast-draining, gritty environments. When you plant them in dense, moisture-retentive potting mix, water sits around their roots far too long and rot sets in quickly. Tropical plants are the opposite. They generally want soil that holds a bit of moisture between waterings, So a mix that dries out too fast leaves them constantly stressed and thirsty. Then there's the classic mistake of using regular garden soil in containers. Garden soil is meant for open ground where water can spread out and drain away naturally. In a contained pot, that same soil compacts down, blocks airflow, and drains poorly, which suffocates roots over time. The fix is straightforward. Match your soil to your plant type. Use a cactus or succulent mix for drought-tolerant plants, a standard well-draining potting mix for most houseplants, and reserve garden soil strictly for in-ground planting. It's a small switch that makes a massive difference in root health. There's a common assumption that more fertilizer equals more growth, but that's not how plants work. Fertilizer is essentially a concentrated dose of salts and minerals, and too much of it can actually burn root tissue and scorch leaf edges, leaving them brown and crispy. It's a case where enthusiasm backfires. The plant ends up more stressed, not healthier. Timing matters just as much as quantity. Most plants have an active growing season, usually spring through summer, when they're putting out new growth and can actually use extra nutrients. During fall and winter, many plants naturally slow down or go semi-dormant. Feeding them heavily during this rest period is a bit like offering a full meal to someone who's asleep. It just sits there and can cause harm. The fix: fertilize only during active growth periods, and when in doubt, dilute fertilizer to half the recommended strength. Under-fertilizing is easy to correct with a bit more next time. Over-fertilizing damage often can't be undone. Pruning is one of those tasks that feels simple but has real timing rules behind it. Many flowering shrubs set next year's flower buds shortly after they finish blooming. If you prune right after that bud-setting window without realizing it, you're accidentally cutting off next season's entire flower display before it even had a chance to open. It's not damage you'll see immediately. You'll only notice months later when the blooms just don't show up. Tool care matters too. Dull or dirty pruning shears don't make a clean cut. They crush plant tissue and can transfer disease or fungus from one plant to another. The fix: before pruning anything, take a minute to learn your specific plant's bloom cycle so you're cutting at the right time. And keep your shears clean and sharp. A quick wipe with rubbing alcohol between plants prevents spreading problems, and a clean cut heals far faster and more cleanly than a ragged one. Here's the mistake almost nobody talks about, and it's a big one. A large number of houseplant struggles, especially with tropical plants like ferns, calatheas, and phytonias, come down to humidity, not water or light at all. Most homes sit around 30 to 40% humidity. Many tropical plants evolved in rainforest environments with 60% humidity or higher. That's a massive gap, and the plant feels every bit of it. The telltale signs are crispy, browning leaf edges even when you're watering correctly, or leaves that curl inward as if they're trying to protect themselves. It's easy to mistake this for a watering problem and end up overwatering to compensate, which only creates a second problem on top of the first. The fix is refreshingly simple. A small humidifier near humidity-loving plants, grouping plants together to create a shared moisture pocket, or a pebble tray with water underneath the pot. Any of these can take a struggling tropical plant from constantly stressed to visibly thriving within weeks. Plants left in the same pot for years eventually run out of room, and the results aren't always obvious at first. Roots start circling around the inside of the pot with nowhere left to grow, a condition called being root-bound. Over time, this makes it harder and harder for the plant to take up water and nutrients efficiently, even if you're doing everything else right. There are a few clear signs it's time to repot. Water running straight through the pot without the soil seeming to absorb it, roots visibly poking out of the drainage holes, or the plant drying out unusually fast after watering. Any of these point to a root system that's simply outgrown its space. The general guideline for most houseplants is repotting every 12 to 18 months, though slower growers can go longer. The fix is straightforward. Move up to a pot just 1 or 2 sizes larger, gently loosen the root ball, and give the roots fresh room and fresh soil to keep growing into. Part 9. Not checking for pests early, 8:55 to 9:40. By the time pest damage is visible to the naked eye, the infestation is usually already well established. Spider mites, aphids, and mealybugs are experts at hiding. They cluster on the undersides of leaves and along stems, out of sight from a casual glance at your plant. That's exactly why so many people feel blindsided when a seemingly healthy plant suddenly looks terrible. The fix is a simple weekly habit. Gently flip a few leaves over and check the undersides, along with the stem joints. Watch for fine webbing, sticky residue on leaves, small white cottony clusters, or tiny moving specks. Catching any of these early means the fix is usually easy. A wipe down with mild soapy water or a diluted insecticidal soap handles most early infestations without any lasting damage. Wait too long, and you're often looking at losing the whole plant or dealing with pests spreading to everything nearby. This last one ties every previous mistake together, because it's really the root cause behind all of them. A cactus and a fern have almost opposite needs. Different water, different light, different humidity, different soil. Yet it's incredibly common to develop one watering routine, one feeding schedule, one spot in the house, and apply it to every plant you own. The gardeners whose plants consistently thrive aren't lucky, and they're not doing anything mysterious. They've simply learned to treat each plant as its own individual, with its own specific needs, instead of a one-size-fits-all routine. That shift from a fixed schedule to actually observing what each plant is telling you is what separates plants that survive from plants that genuinely thrive. Once you start paying attention to each plant individually, everything on this list becomes second nature instead of a mistake to avoid. So that's it. 10 mistakes that are quietly working against your plants, and exactly how to fix every single one. If you take away just one thing from this video, let it be this: stop guessing and start observing. Your plant is always telling you what it needs. You just have to know what to look for. Here's your homework. Pick one plant in your home that's been struggling and run it through this list. Check the soil, check the light, check the pot, check the roots. I'd bet you'll find the answer in the next 5 minutes. If this helped you, subscribe to the Garden Sage for more plant care that actually works. No fluff, no guesswork, just what actually keeps plants alive. Drop a comment and let me know which mistake surprised you the most. I read every single one. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.